Listen Up with Jim Potts. Listen up, business owners, CFOs, human resource managers, and all managers and supervisors. Jim Potts is answering and addressing your questions and concerns, helping you stay out of court. Furthermore, please be advised that Jim's answers are not legal advice and are only intended as a guide based on his years of experience. The phone lines are open. 1-855-4-J-POTS. That's 1-855-457-6887. You can also email us at listenup@jameswilliampottsllc.com. Ready to listen up? Here is Jim Potts.
Hello, Jim Potts back on the line. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Well, you know what? Sometimes we get emails from employees also. So I try to be fair with these so I can be fair and balanced, as they say. And I try to give advice to employees and, you know, sometimes with the students, etc. Well, in this particular case, got an email wanting to know whether or not their employer can fire them for being in violation of a dress code policy. And basically, is what happened was the person that's writing in was kind of upset that they were hired, you know, during the summer, and they were hired as interns. And then they basically felt that, well, this person felt that it wasn't fair that they should have to wear certain clothing. Now, the reason why they're saying that is because where they work versus where other people work, and who's visible to customers and who's not visible, that, you know, they're not in the customer's view all the time. And why should the dress code policy apply to them? Now, they felt that the clothing rules were kind of overly restrictive, but as a group, these interns were afraid to complain. So apparently this person that was writing to me is telling me about a group of interns. They didn't think that they should have to wear the same thing other people were wearing because of the fact that they were not in view of the customer. And they felt that the dress code itself was overly restrictive, so why should we have to wear it? Now, they went along with that, although they were griping amongst themselves apparently, until this person that wrote to me noticed that one of the workers wore flat shoes that were made from a fabric other than leather or running shoes. And even though both of these two things were contrary to the dress code policy. Okay, so what do we have here? We've got a group of disgruntled, you know, newly hired interns that are upset because they're being told they have to wear what everybody else wears, and that's what the dress policy calls for. Now, it's typical in those kind of situations. What are the so-called aggrieved people always looking for when they're told that they have to do something a certain way because of policy? They start doing what? Looking around to see if anybody else is violating policy so that they can come back and say, see, if they're doing it, okay, violating a policy, then why can't we, okay, stray from the policy just like they can? And that's a typical work environment scenario. Now, their complaint wasn't necessarily about footwear. Theirs was about clothing. But because they saw this person violating, then right away, if they can do it, why can't we do it? Now, look, that's not a bad argument. You know, the policy is the policy. If we're supposed to strictly, go by the dress code policy, why can this other person get away with this and we can't? Now, they're interns, the other person is not. Okay, so the person was mad about this. So what did they do? They all banded together. All right. Now, it's not a union situation, but they all banded together, and they wrote a proposal, to upper management, outlining their views, talking about why they should. Now, again, these are all these new hire people, banding together and, complaining that this is what we should be able to do. They gave their logic, apparently, as to why they should not have to be, adhering to the strict dress code policy. And again, because they were not in the view of their customers. And they also put in there, apparently, that, and why can this other person stray from the policy and basically we can't? Now, that was their focus. Why can this person do it? How come we can't do it? All right. Now, the next day, everyone who signed that proposal was apparently brought into their office of the manager. And in there, the manager looks at them and says, you know what? Because of your unprofessional behavior, You're all fired. Pack up your belongings and get out. Now, this person wants to know whether or not the employer can do that. Well, let me give you a little added piece to this. Because the manager also took the time to explain that the person who was wearing the shoes or wearing the footwear that apparently was not consistent with dress code policy was a wounded vet. And the person had an artificial leg, and apparently what they had to wear was a particular type of shoes. I guess it was from the knee down. They had to wear a particular type of shoe, okay, because of slipping and all these other kind of issues, I guess. Now the person's recognizing this after they got fired, but still wants to know whether or not the employer can do this, because they're saying they had no knowledge of the fact that this person had the lower part of their leg missing and got to wear these things. Now look, this is where I say the work environment's like kindergarten. Now here was an employer that had a strict dress code policy. They were giving a reasonable accommodation to a wounded vet. So to the other people, it appeared that this was incorrect. The employer has no obligation. Oh, they want to know why they didn't tell them that, by the way. That was the other thing. So I guess that's why, from their perspective, this was still wrong. Where's the obligation on the employer's part to inform other employees about somebody's disability? There is none. There is none. Now, was this termination kind of harsh? Look, new interns, they're already coming in complaining. We don't want to wear the dress code. Now, I'm going to say something to all you millennials out there, because I'm sure that the interns, this has got to be in the millennial group here. Millennials sometimes think that, everything is supposed to change because they're millennials. Here's a wake-up call for you millennials. Our world doesn't surround your world, okay? What you think might be the correct way to do it may not be the way corporate America sees it. Now, gradually, when you millennials turn into upper management people and you turn around things, that might be a whole different ballgame. But for now, we're going to keep doing it our way. So if we say that there's a dress code policy in effect, then there's a dress code policy in effect. And I guess if you don't particularly like the fact that there's a dress code policy in effect, then, back in the old days, we used to be able to say you could hit the bricks. Now, for those of you that are in California, we can't necessarily anymore say hit the bricks per se. Go find yourself another job. Because they say in California, you're supposed to sit down, have a conversation with the person, and you can't take any adverse action against a person complaining about working conditions. Now, this particular email I got, this person, they're actually out of state. They're actually out of state. So if they were in California, they actually would have had a better argument that they were terminated for complaining about a working condition with the dress code policy about what appeared to be unfair and an inconsistent policy. Now, because of the fact that they got fired, if this was California, they could have a retaliation claim with the labor board. They complained about it. We got together. Now look, under California law, even though they're wrong about the issue itself, they can still view it as a retaliation issue, even though they're wrong about the issue. That's California. Welcome to my world. So, the person who wrote this, okay, Jessica. The person who wrote this, Jessica, if you're listening to this, and I'm assuming you listen to me on a regular basis, I'm sorry you guys lost your job. All right, if you were in California, yes, you would definitely have some recourse. But because you're not in California, you don't have any recourse in this area. And in most environments, employers can actually control what the dress code policy should be. Now, even though you feel that you're working out of the view of customers, all right, then you got to take into consideration what would happen if you had to go up front to the front desk, or you had to pass by to go out on a break, and you're dressed inconsistent with the uniform or the dress code that the company wants. You have to look at it that way as well. But I know that's not necessarily what you choose to do because you're out of a job. But the realities is that that's the way it is in corporate America. Went through that same issue with my with one of my sons that was working at a place, and he wanted to wear cornrows, and they turned around and told him, no, you can't wear those. And this is when he was younger. So he jumps on the phone and he calls me and says, hey, can they do this to me? Absolutely. Change the hairstyle or you're out of a job. And that's what I say to you. You don't like the dress code policy? Try and find another job. And for you young people out there that's just getting started, into business, into the corporate world, real life can be brutal. All right? It's no more just sitting at that desk in a classroom learning things out of a textbook. Now it's the real world. And you're going to have to deal with it on a real world level. All right? Well, look, I'm not going to lecture you, but that's exactly what happened, Jessica. And I wish you good luck in finding a job now that you're out of a job. Just remember the next place that you go, if they choose to tell you what the dress code policy is, rather than band everybody together, you go out and buy whatever it is that you're supposed to buy and keep that job. You get into a position of authority, then you can start dictating what you would like or not like. All right, with that last comment, it's time to close out this segment, but let me remind you, you can also hear us on Facebook at Listen Up and subscribe to us on iTunes. Just search for Listen Up with Jim Potts. And as a reminder, we take calls every third Friday. We can be reached at 855-4J-POTS or 855-457-6887 between the hours of about 9:45, 10:45. Or you can email us at listenup@jameswilliampottsllc.com. Okay, I'm Jim Potts. I will continue to fight the fight. Thanks for listening, and I will catch you next time.
Thank you for being a part of Listen Up with Jim Potts. We take your calls every third Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for your questions and concerns. Call us at 1-855-4J-POTS. That's 1-855-4J-POTS. Again, that's every third Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time at 1-855-4J-POTS. Like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes, and link up with us on LinkedIn. You can also email us at listenup@jameswilliampottsllc.com. Until next time, make it a great week.